I'm a brilliant intellectual.
As am I.
The two of us are sick and tired of dealing with troglodytes and have moved into a bomb shelter so we don't catch the stupid.
To stay sharp, we spend our days pursuing the pastime of true intellectuals, debunking YouTube videos.
We are the Debunkers.
2017 is ending, and you all wanted me to do a year in review. Well, those shits are hacky as hell. So I'm just gonna do a year in review of my new favorite woke prince, Ben Shapiro's year in review. Now, you might recognize Ben Shapiro from the 528,000 videos that come up when you search Ben Shapiro owns on YouTube.
Yes, and how many videos come up when you search Hasan Piker owns on YouTube? Makes sense.
So Ben's a well-known conservative, and he's famous for turning college campuses not being able to host them into a constitutional debate on national television, and then suckering public universities into dropping close to $500,000 in security fees every time he decides to create one of these ownage videos where he dunks on liberal college freshmen.
Is he famous for doing that?
Actually, if I'm not mistaken, what really happens is leftist protesters behaving like brown shirts refuse to allow him to speak on campus because he may hurt their feels. And the school is forced to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on security because the SJWs throw a tantrum.
So wouldn't that mean that people in Hasan's camp are entirely to blame for the high cost of bringing Ben Shapiro on campus, and therefore isn't placing this burden on Ben victim blaming? And doesn't this render the first argument with which Hasan launches this video so obviously flawed that it's difficult to imagine an individual with an IQ above 90 daring to utter it, lest they face the horrible embarrassment of having said something so stupid so publicly?
Yes, I believe that's right.
Can't wait to see the second argument.
Why aren't you 60?
That's a dumb question, Ben. She's not 60, Ben. Why aren't you 60? Did you guys get that? He said, why aren't you 60? Because she's not 60.
Yes, she isn't 60, and the whole point of the question was to highlight that there are certain parts of her identity that we're unable to change, Hasan.
Why can't you identify as 60?
It's not the same as gender, you can't just...
You're right, age is significantly less important than gender.
Oh! Okay, so in all seriousness, it really shows us how dumb society is when a person whose best retort is no, and then also some other oversimplified analogy that has nothing to do with addressing the question itself, and this is the best conservatives have to offer.
Yes, well, Hasan, why don't you explain why it's an oversimplified analogy?
We're waiting.
Yeah, biological differences exist. We all know this. Look at other societies. We all know that gender is a social construct.
You simply restated that biological sex is biological, and that there are certain elements of gender which are socially constructed. Not sure how that debunks any of what Ben said.
But yeah, for a guy who hates sex, you sure like to talk a lot about it, Ben.
When did Ben ever say he hates sex?
I hate sex.
Yes, that's because you're a weirdo.
It's nowhere near as much fun as debunking videos on the internet.
Well, to Ben Shapiro it is.
It's true. He's a sex machine.
Which leads us to what happens as a result of sex. Abortion.
The morality of abortion does not change based on need. The fact that she's poor and needs an abortion doesn't change whether she was rich or needs an abortion or poor.
This is one of my favorite conservative tropes where people falsely equate a female having autonomy over her own body to murder.
Yes, well, given that the instance of a woman exercising, quote, autonomy, unquote, of which we speak, is one in which said woman ends the life of an unborn child, isn't it you that's falsely equating murder with autonomy?
Yes, and furthermore, he's failed once again to address any of what Ben said.
Yes, my brilliant high IQ mind is beginning to notice a subtle pattern here.
But these staunch anti-abortion weirdos quickly lose interest in the sanctity of human life once the babies are actually born.
Ah, yes, look at that. It's a pseudo-intellectual leftist banality.
Yes, not only that, but a red herring as well, and one which does literally nothing to dismantle the case made by Ben or any pro-lifer. Not only do some pro-life individuals believe in a welfare state, but even if they don't, it's perfectly consistent to believe it's wrong to murder someone without also believing you need to give them free stuff, or that the government is better at providing help to those in need than private charity.
The abortion argument really comes down to, do you think this is a life or not? If you don't think it's a life, you can do whatever you want with it. If you think it's a life, you can't do anything with it.
Yes, Ben, this is true. And first trimester babies are not life.
First trimester babies are not life? Fascinating, given that such a claim would contradict any and every development in prenatal science over the past 100 years. I'm sure that the brilliant and intellectually rigorous Hasan will offer an airtight argument for as to why conventional wisdom on this subject has failed us.
Can they live outside the body if the mother dies? No, not life.
What?
Is that an actual argument?
I've got to go to the lad. I actually haven't heard that one before. Ever. I mean, I've heard people claim the unborn are not viable and therefore not deserving of life, but never before have I heard it argued that not being viable means a being isn't alive.
Indeed, and not only does viability have nothing to do with being status as living or non-living, but for someone who claims to be so hyper-compassionate that they believe it's evil for taxpayers to feel they aren't responsible for strangers on welfare, it's odd that he finds it completely acceptable for a woman to allow her child to die because she doesn't want to care for it. I mean, how is a random taxpayer more responsible for a stranger's life than a mother is for her own child's?
Let's not sully the thing by injecting logic now.
No, but they kill babies. They kill 300,000 unborn children a year. No, I don't donate to a baby genocidal organization.
Nice to know Ben cares about unborn babies more than Palestinians. Or immigrants.
Oh, look at that. Yet another red herring disguised as an empty leftist cliche. Not agreeing with me on issue X means you want people to die and therefore aren't pro-life.
So far, we got through all of this ownage with only a minor aneurysm.
Speak for yourself.
I think we both agree that adult human life has intrinsic value. Can we start from that premise?
Okay, Ben's doing it. He's doing it. We're in the hole.
If you are in a coma from which you may awake, can I stab you?
Well then, no. I guess not.
I'm glad you answered that because I have no interest in actually murdering you.
Yes, you're not a Muslim nor a thug. Just a liberal I'm about to murder with logic and reasoning.
Not only is this the same fallacy we've addressed several times now, but the Ben Shapiro impression is absolutely dreadful.
Can you do better?
Honestly, gang, anyone could do a better Ben Shapiro impression than Hasan, and a major reason for which he fails is because in order to truly pull off a Ben Shapiro-style sound, one has to be able to speak articulately and at a relatively quick pace, and Hasan clearly lacks the cognitive faculties to be able to do either, so...
Here, I'm gonna do the Ben argument to wrap this up. Do you think Adolf Hitler's fetus has the same intrinsic moral value to you and society as a whole as your father's comatose body?
No, it is not.
Well, thank you for making my point. Facts don't care about your feelings. I'm Ben Shapiro. Please don't forget to follow Hasan, who definitely broke me and owned me in this argument, at Hasan D. Piker on Instagram and on Twitter at Hasan the Hun, and this has been The Breakdown.
Interesting. Tell me, how did this jolly young chap end up with a job doing anything other than selling pencils on a street corner, let alone one as a political commentator?
His uncle is jank yogurt.
Ah, well, I suppose that makes sense. If your cognitive jack of cards is a few suits short, it helps to have a family business.
Yes, especially when that business is leftist political commentary.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of the Debunkers and what videos you'd have them review next. Freedom Tunes is entirely fan-funded, so if you enjoy these videos, please consider donating at patreon.com/freedomtunes. Thank you so much.